We need to get out of France, and we don't have much time. We arrived in Paris 60 days ago, and we can only stay in the EU for 90 days, and then we have to leave. We have a plan that we're hoping will give us extra time in the EU, but to make that work, we have to get to Italy. Sanremo is the closest Italian port to France, so we're headed there to talk to customs. It's 150 nautical miles to Sanremo, which will take us about 5 days of sailing if the weather is good. So we're on a quest to scoot across the coast of France quickly and to see what fate awaits us.
We're just heading into the old port of Marseille, into a marina, pick up some parcels and do some provisioning for our run to the east. It's quite a skinny entrance with a fort on either side. I hate to think how many thousand years it's been used, so I'm looking forward to that. Right at the moment, I'm looking forward to the forecast 10 knots because it's not showing up. As we enter the old port of Marseille, there's quite a bit of traffic. We're split between watching what we're doing and watching the castles at the entrance as we come in. They truly are magnificent. Coming into a new port is always a little bit nerve-wracking. You don't quite know where things are and where you're meant to go. There's over 1,000 boats in here and many marinas and sailing clubs, but our marinero is there in this little boat directing us where to go. I was expecting to pull up against that wharf on my starboard side, but as we approach in I realise that the marinero wants us to go stern to into the visitors' dock right at the back of this bay. This is called a mid-mooring, and panic sets in at this point. I've watched a little bit of this on YouTube, but I've never done it live, so this is a new thing for both of us. I'm still really getting used to controlling the boat in tight spaces like this, especially in reverse. You really have to learn how the boat handles. I take a cautious approach and slow and steady as we move in. We've got the wind coming from our starboard side, so we need to get the starboard lines on first. I try to slow the boat down, but a little bit too much power and we come to a stop. I'm a little bit concerned about that dock behind us. Can you see that? It's all steel. There is no padding here at all. I've got to get close enough to get the starboard stern line on, but I certainly don't want to be bouncing off the dock. It looks like we're a long way away, but that's the wide angle lens. We're actually rather close. Hastily get the line out and chuck it to the marinero, and I nearly pull the poor guy off the dock here, not realising I was still in forward rather than neutral. We ease back up so that he can tie it off on the dock. Having the headsets is great. Jude's off getting the boat hook from the other side so that she can pick up one of the lazy lines. The marinero lifts up the lazy line so Jude can get a hold of it. I've just put on a little bit of power against that stern line, brings our bow around and lines up with the boat next door. While this is good, it's going to make work a little bit harder for Jude as she tries to pull that line down the side of the boat. In a mid-mooring, there are 2 mooring lines for the bow that actually sit on the seafloor, and they're attached to small lines that run all the way back to the dock. You use these lines to then lift the mooring lines off the seafloor. Our neighbours there, which is pretty usual, sussing you out, making sure you're not denting anything, but also to give you a hand when needed. The line gets stuck between our fenders and their fenders. While Jude takes that one forward, I'm picking up the other line on the port side from the Marinaro, and I can now run that one forward as well. It's important that we secure the bow so it doesn't move around on the wind. Now we've got the bow on, we can actually motor back against those bow lines and get us a little bit closer. We need to inch our way back and adjust the lines so that we can drop the swim platform so we can easily get on the dock, but we certainly don't want to bang into it. Last line going on, and I have to say I think we've done a good job. There's no scratches, there's been no shouting, and certainly no insurance claims, so we can say that's a very good first attempt at a med mooring, but with a very good Marinaro as well that talked us through it. Our heart rates are racing, but job's done.
Just filling up the water tank at the moment. We've got 200 litres in the forward water tank and 330 litres in the aft water tank. So when we got an opportunity, we would fill them up. We use about 20 litres a day, so there's a month's worth of water at least, maybe a bit more.
Is that really only 1 euro? So you just follow on.
Okay, can we get the hen?
While we're in Marseille, we pick up some Amazon deliveries and take advantage of the big supermarkets to provision the boat for a few weeks of travelling.
Oh, you found it.
Stopping again to do a food shop is difficult and time-consuming. So while we're on a mission to get to Italy, we can't stop for fresh food as often as we might like.
Yep.
We leave Marseille for a short sail to Saint-Cerce-Mer. Strong easterlies are forecast for the next few days and we need a place to shelter. Otherwise we'll be stuck in the old port. And with neighbours on each side only 40 centimetres away from us, and paying 73 euros a day, that's not where we want to be. Once we get to Saint-Cerce-Mer, we were delighted with the anchorage. It's a lovely bay, and we spent 3 nights here, relaxing and doing jobs on the boat. If our plan to get extra time in the EU fails, we'll need to get out of the EU before our 90 days is up. From Sanremo, the closest places to travel to by water that are not EU countries are weeks of sailing away. Richard's been working on installing the autopilot, but it's not finished yet. And without an autopilot, we won't be doing any overnight passages. We need to get to Sanremo with a few weeks up our sleeve to make a quick exit if we need to. If we can't get out of the EU in time, we risk having to put the boat into a marina and fly out for 3 months. There are bilateral visa waiver agreements in place, which should get us extra time in Italy, but it's not guaranteed. We wrote to Spain, France and Italy, and all of them replied that they're not currently honouring that agreement. The Italian embassy said that the minister is taking a conservative interpretation of the agreement and has instructed customs not to grant it. They recommended planning our travels within the 90-day limit. We've heard of others who've managed to use the bilateral visa waiver agreement recently, and it's still valid law, so we want to give it a go. The alternative is to get out of the EU now and stay out for 90 days.
Everywhere we anchor, there are these fish. These are the smart little ones. You can catch one, be unlikely to catch a second.
Doing a sail by of Saint-Tropez. We're going to anchor in a bay just over that way. Put the anchor down twice and it wouldn't hold, just soft mud. We're going to go up this way and see what else we can find.
Are you watching where you're going? When I was in Melbourne, I perfected making sourdough bread. I couldn't bring the sourdough starter with me, and I'm struggling to bring a new one to life. So while I wait for that starter to develop, and for my patience to develop, I'm just making bread with dried yeast.
It's as long as I've ever been.
I'm trying to put it in the shade. I think it needs sun on. Wow, looking good.
Time for the oven.
It's not quite as nice as the sourdough, but it's hot and it's fresh. I make one every day for lunch, which we have with a great selection of French cheeses for our very own jambon fromage.
Certainly smells good.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's lovely. Just on approach to our anchorage for this evening, which is just in the distance in front of us, probably about another 3 nautical miles. It's a couple of islands just south of Cannes, which is over in the distance. Big cruise ship in there. It's been a lovely sail, hasn't it, honey? Yeah? Been just moseying along at about 5 knots most of the time. Wind has been sitting around 8 to 10 knots. It's made for a very pleasant sail. water's beautiful, isn't it?
So we dropped it right there, and I watched it perfect line.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm rather proud of us getting into this anchorage and actually finding a spot. But I don't feel like we're going to bang into people.
This anchorage is completely unexpected. There's a pizza restaurant catamaran, a roving mojito boat, and lots of locals having fun. And we make a surprise discovery on the islands. Join us in the next episode to see it all.